Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Car Reviews Podcast here with CollectorCarCanada.ca. We are on location, as you can tell. We're at a show. It's the Burlington Cruisin' Car Show, BCCS as it's known. Check out their Facebook page for BCCS, Burlington Cruisin' Car Show. Sadly, by the time you're watching this video, their season is going to be over, despite many other shows still going on strong. Here to tell you about three cars today. We're getting back to premium auctions after all of the no reserve auctions we've had for the Rover vehicles out in New Brunswick. So the first one we're going to tell you about tonight is a 1983 DeLorean DMC-12. Well, this is a special one. We sold a DeLorean last year. It was an 81 and it was a little bit scruffier than this one. This one, take a look at the listing. It's lot 318, quite a special car and in beautiful condition at that. So 1983 DeLorean DMC-12 5-speed manual. Next up, we have a 1962 Ford Thunderbird hardtop coupe. So it's got the 390 engine, white over a beige interior, beautiful condition as well. Subject to an exhaustive restoration back around 25 years ago. That all the details are there on our detailed listing. It's lot 316 for the 1962 Ford Thunderbird hardtop coupe. Last one we're going to show you today, also a special car. It's a European market car. It was imported in the United States from Portugal around 2015, and it's been in Canada for about 6 years. It's a 1971 Datsun 1600 SSS, 4-speed manual. Now, if that model doesn't sound familiar to you, despite being around in 71 and being familiar with the sporty Datsun cars at the time, think 510 in terms of a body, but the powertrain all different. It's got its original powertrain, and that's a 1.6 liter engine, good for 110 factory horsepower. So quite different from the 510, which would have been right around the 90 horsepower mark in 1971. Neat thing about this car is it's outfitted for safari. You'll soon see the big wheels and tires. It's been added. They're the most obvious item, but there's some toe loops, rear steps, as well as a skid plate down below, mud guards on the rear wheels. So have a look at this one. It's a tribute to an East African rally at the time. The name escapes me right now, but we cover it in both the video and the detailed listing. It is lot 304, the 1971 Datsun 1600 SSS 4-speed manual. So enough out of me here from the Burlington Cruisin' Car Show. Here come the cars. Hi, everyone, and welcome to another exciting car here on the Car Reviews Podcast with CollectorCarCanada.ca. Were you alive in the early 80s? If you were, you know the car on whose rockers I'm sitting. This one is a 1983 DeLorean DMC-12 5-speed manual. So the DeLoreans, as many will know, were only produced for 3 model years, 81 through 83. So this one is from the last year of production. Of course, they were built in Northern Ireland, and the man whose surname is the name of the manufacturer, DeLorean, was a man with roots in the car business in Pontiacs of the 60s. So he had the grand idea of putting the bigger engine in the little car. He's also the man who was running Pontiac at the time of the GTO. I think the first year GTO might have been 64. I might be off by a year, but right around there, certainly. But then he always wanted to build his own car, and we see the product of that here before us today. So a 1983 DeLorean DMC-12. This one is a pretty darn clean car with a few modifications performance-wise, and you can probably see the wheels are not stock. The stock wheels are included with the car, though. I think the owner supplied us with a few photos of those, but the original wheels do come with the car. They're skinned in a set of tires. I don't know right now how old the tires are, but we'll try to get that information for you on the detailed listing. This one is lot 318 on collectorcarcanada.ca for the 83 DeLorean DMC-12 5-speed manual. So yeah, I mentioned the rims. They're I suppose they're at once a cosmetic and a performance upgrade because they're 2 inches bigger front and rear. We'll get into those when we talk about the exterior. For now, though, I'm gonna go clockwise 90 degrees. I'll give the car a start. I'll grab the camera. We'll listen to the engine, which is in the rear, as well as the exhaust. So climbing in. Just making sure we're in neutral here, and we are. Clutch in. I'll give it a. No trouble at all. I'll mention that we've had the car out this morning. Here we are in rural Bolton. That's where the car is being offered. So a bit northwest of Toronto. Starting from Toronto, you basically go to the Pearson Airport, and you go another 20 or 30 minutes. And yeah, we had the car out. We did a few driving videos. Before we started, we did a legitimate cold start. The car lives in the triple garage. It's a triple, yeah, triple garage behind us. If you don't normally watch our cold start videos, that one's worth a look, if only for the cars in the background in the garage. But when we shoot the videos and photos, we like to have the garage doors closed. So yeah, that's a bit of an intro on the car. I'm gonna come grab the camera. As I say, we'll get up close and personal with the engine compartment and exhaust. So of course, with the gull wing style doors, it's fun to have all doors open, including cargo cover and engine compartment. We'll get a shot of them with them down when we start the exterior portion of the video. But moving in closer to the engine compartment, I've got a second microphone here to get in close. So let's have a listen. And then down to the exhaust. All right, now that I've turned off the second microphone, I'll just mention that, boy, this engine compartment looks nice and clean. Of course, it's a V6. We've got all the spec details on the detailed listing. Again, lot 318. It was originally rated at 130 horsepower, about right for a V6 at the time. This one comes with the 5-speed manual, though, so probably a little easier for the everyday driver to get a little more out of that 130 horsepower V6. But really presentable, really clean, and you can see even these decals are in place, looking quite clean and without wear. So I'm going to shut down the car now, and we'll get started talking about the exterior. So our normal starting spot for these exterior portions of the videos, the car review videos. Do take a look at our Collector Car Stories podcast as well. They're available on the CCC podcasts page on the website, collectorcarcanada.ca. Always a few fun things going on in those podcasts. And we also each week put our car reviews together to form an episode of the Car Reviews podcast. You'll find those in the very same place. So moving toward the front, I've heard people speculate on the reasons why that sort of grille and headlight surround is a little different color from the rest of the car. Well, that's a simple one. As DeLorean people will know, this car is unpainted, and it's unpainted. It can get away with being unpainted because it's stainless steel. So it doesn't need paint for rust, to keep away the rust. The stainless steel doesn't need to be protected by paint. So rust-free body panel certainly. But that surround on the grille and the headlights is in fact a poly setup. And apparently, the owner of this car tells me that it was deliberately chosen to not be identical to the stainless because the two materials would wear differently. And he said, I guess the logic at the time was that if you can't get it to perfectly match, why try to make it look like it almost matches? So that's some of the reason for that. But just from this angle, we can see the front air dam looks to be in wonderful condition. Even that black bumper cover surrounding the indicators. There are a couple of bug marks on there, but I don't see stone chipping. And then same for that poly portion around the grille and headlights. There's a DMC, DeLorean Motor Company emblem here on the grille, and then a DeLorean spelled out here on the hood. So working our way around, let's take a look at these wheels. As I mentioned, these are an upgrade. The originals are included. So these are a well-regarded tire by the sports and performance set. They're a Firestone Firehawk Indy 500. I can see the size on this front one is 205, 45, 16 with a W speed rating. And again, aftermarket rims. So they're bumped up 2 inches. The stocks are 14-inch and they come with the car. And this owner's even gone to the detail of getting a matching center cap for these aftermarket wheels. So you can see that DMC logo, which in a fun way, I've got a stabilizer on my camera, so it won't let me turn it 180 degrees, but it reads the same upside down and right side up. So again, it's bumped up by 2 inches up here on the front and the rear, bigger in the rear. We'll get to it in a minute. So good look at the profile of the car, which we've seen, but this time with the doors down. A really sleek profile, particularly when you consider this was engineered in the late 70s and early 80s. The owner has mentioned there are a couple of little, I'll call them divots in the body. He said, he challenged me to find them. I haven't found them yet. If I do, I'll show them in the video. But if not, please take a look at our detailed listing. And he's also looked into it. It sounds like a good PDR guy could take care of them. But as I say, invisible to me so far. Let's see what he says after the video if I don't find them. Working our way to this driver's side rear tire. It's a matching set of Firestone Firehawk Indy 500s at all 4 corners. This one is a 235 45 R17, also W speed rated. So from the factory, 15-inch here on the rear, and the stock set, all 4 wheels come with tires with the car, and you can see underneath 4-wheel disc brakes. So a disc brake in the rear. Lots of cars in 1983 were still being made, although front discs, but rear drums. But you can see it's a disc brake system here. A couple of neat features here. That window within a window is what goes down. And you can see the Secure It emblem on both panes of glass with the DeLorean Motor Company emblem. So probably indicative of original glass. And then you can see the hinge for these gull-wing style doors is toward the center, which gives a little bit of headroom for ingress and egress. There are mirrors rather on either side, not color coded, so they're a black, sort of a plastic finish. But there's lots of black trim on the car. Those mirrors match it really well. Working our way to the rear, so a typical 80s sports car with the louvers here in the rear. And then the grid pattern, people will recognize from the movie, grid pattern on those tail lights. A neat DeLorean emblem here incorporated into the bumper cover. And then dual exhaust, as we saw earlier. The owner has gone to the trouble of not only supplying us with photos of the underside, there's even a video. He's a retired guy who works on his own cars. He's lucky enough to have a lift in his garage. So those were taken there. But it does give him an opportunity to keep his cars tip top, certainly. Rear quarter from the passenger side on the shaded side of the car. So a matching Firestone Firehawk in the, I think it said 235. Yeah, 235, 45, 17 with the W speed rating over that disc brake and 17-inch rim. One feature that's kind of fun I didn't mention, from a distance, it's not that easy to pick out where the door releases are, the door handles. It's actually right under there. And you release that, the door goes up. So working our way to the front here again, and there's a good look at it from the passenger's front quarter. That's a good look at the exterior of the car. Let's move on to the interior. The owner shared with us a story here before we jump right into the interior about this VIN plate. He saw me looking at it. I was just looking that it began with an S to indicate Great Britain or the UK, I guess, because all the cars that are manufactured in the United Kingdom start with an S with the VINs starting in 1981 at least. But you might notice that there's no rivet on that plate, and that's because some of the parts below it um, were manufactured in 82 to be 82 cars, but they weren't manufactured as 82 cars. So parts on the shelf were in place and they couldn't re-rivet them. So that's why the 83s are all glued into place. If you have any misgivings about that, know that the other VIN plate here in the door jamb is riveted down, and we can see an August 1982 manufacture date for this. So it's an early 83 car, and it's consistent with what the owner said about some of those parts being manufactured in 82, being that the whole car was manufactured in 82. They necessarily were manufactured in 82. So the big difference is DeLorean to DeLorean. He also mentioned that the hood is slightly different for the 83s. But the big differences among DeLoreans are automatic versus manual and black interior versus gray. So today we're looking at a gray interior car with leather, 2 buckets, no rear seat, a little bit of a cargo area with a cargo net. And then of course, beyond that wall is the power plant in the rear engine, V6. And the other item is transmission. There were 3-speed automatics and there were 5-speed manuals. This one is a 5-speed manual, so a little bit more sporty feel and a little more ability to get more out of the V6, and it's 130 ponies. So this car has got a set of DeLorean mats, black ones on the floor, which makes a lot of sense, protecting the original gray carpets, but even a bit of a heel plate for robustness, I suppose I'll say. Dead pedal over on the left, and then the 3 pedals, of course, being a manual transmission. A pretty cool DMC, DeLorean Motor Co. emblem here on the door jamb. You can see the handbrakes over here on the left side of the car. And then instrumentation, I recognize that odometer being a font consistent with GM cars of the day, certainly. I think it's fair to say that John Z. DeLorean was smart enough to not reinvent the wheel, I'll say, for certain parts like that odometer that would have been procured from General Motors. Even AMC in this time was procuring its keys from General Motors. So if you see what was called a Jeep CJ7 in the same year as this, 1983, the keys are going to be just like your typical, I don't know, Chevy Citation, or the same shape even as a Cadillac Fleetwood. So a lot of that went on in the day, and certainly GM was the dominant manufacturer at that time. Anyway, off on that tangent, back to the car at hand. So we've got a 240 kilometer an hour speedometer. A neat thing about that is it's indicative of a Canadian market car, and that is a bonus for some people because the US market cars, consistent with the regulations at the time, have a max 85 mile per hour reading. So that's only about 137 kilometers an hour. Not that I'm suggesting you should go out onto a four-lane highway and drive more quickly, but sometimes these cars make it to the track. But it does kind of look funny to see an 85 mile an hour speedometer on on what was thought of as a sports car at the time. So maxing out at 240, you can see in smaller, less dominant blue font is a MPH reading. Then the tachometer maxes out at 8,000 RPM with a 6,500 RPM red line. Over on the left, we've got supplemental gauges for voltage and coolant temperature. And then over on the right, we've got oil pressure and fuel gauge, certainly. And then on sort of bookending those, there are some warning lights that the car's not running, so we don't have them operating right now. In the center stack, we've got a DMC, DeLorean Motor Co. branded AM/FM cassette player. And then below that are the HVAC controls. You can see this car is equipped with air conditioning. And I see bi-level. That's another item I'd see. Just the words. I'm not talking about the font so much as the words, but another indication maybe of John DeLorean's GM roots, just to indicate that the vents both at chest level and foot level are being used for the air conditioning. A few more controls here for the windows. That glass inside of a glass is the only portion of the window that comes down. We've got demo videos of those on the detailed listing. Take a look at those. Lot 318. And slider here for ashtray, nice and clean. But typical controls of the day. But when we look at these seats, though, they don't look like they're from the day. Certainly new looking seats, both driver and passenger. And a look at the rear cargo area. You can see the cargo nets in place, and put that seat up just so. Little storage compartment here with a lock on it, but a little bit of space to keep your clean items if you wanted to. We'll zip over to the front of the car where there is a storage compartment. Consistent with what we just saw in the cabin, very clean storage compartment here up front. You can see this light is still functional. The decals are in place. Neat thing here is that there's a DMC, DeLorean Motor Corp branded car cover that comes with the car. I'll wander over to the other side here so that you can see the cleanliness of some of the decals that are in place, and then some here as well where the fuel goes. So there's a good look at our 1983 DeLorean DMC-12 5-speed manual. A really fun car to have on the website. We're really excited to have it. So watch for it as lot 318. Again, it's got the 130 horsepower V6 engine driving the rear wheels from the rear, dual exhaust, and this glorious stainless steel. I call it finish, but it's stainless steel. It hasn't been finished. No worries about rust on the panels with the stainless steel. Upgraded wheels. They're 2 inches larger front and rear, and the rears are 1 inch larger in diameter in the rear. The originals are included with the car. So a really neat, tidy package here on the 1983 DeLorean DMC-12 5-speed manual. Again, it's lot 318 on collectorcarcanada.ca. That's gonna about do it for this video. I want to thank you for watching, and we're gonna move on to the next one. Hi everyone, and welcome to another great car here on the Car Reviews podcast with collectorcarcanada.ca. It's a beauty, and it's a bullet, the Bullet Bird, a 1962 Ford Thunderbird hardtop coupe. I moved my arm along as I did there, just to show off that this car is pillarless and a genuine, authentic, legitimate coupe. So this one, as I say, 1962, the third generation of Thunderbird, started out 55 to 57 as a two-seater intended to compete with Corvette. And then in 1958, they put a back seat in the T-Birds, and they sold way more of them. So that'd be the second generation. And I think that second generation went 58 to 60. And then this is the second year of the third generation, as I say, known as the Bullet Bird. And a lot of the early Thunderbirds had nicknames. There's a Glamour Bird, Oh shoot, there's the second and the fourth generation sandwiching these. The words rhyme, they escape me right now. But as I say, this one's called the Bullet Bird, and the reason I've got the camera set up to as a profile now, you can see kind of the streamlined shape at the front, almost resembling a bullet in terms of its shape. So this car, it's a restored car, an older restoration, probably 20, 25 years old. We've got the exact details on that in the detailed listing. This one is lot 316 on collectorcarcanada.ca. 1962 Ford Thunderbird hardtop coupe. Power windows, except for these vent windows up front. So it was easy to put all four windows down to show off that coupe profile. So as I say, it's got the vent windows, which are a nice touch. They're manual, of course. You can see the opener right here. Despite the power windows and the vent windows, this car is equipped from the factory with air conditioning. That sounds great. However, the catch is the air conditioning is not functional right now. There's no belt on the compressor, so it's not running. Their odometer reads under 11,000, but as you might guess, an analog odometer with 5 digits. The owner believes the car to be under 111,000, but this is a true mileage unknown car. So as I say, lot 316 on collectorcarcanada.ca. I think it's time to fire it up. Let's give it a start, and we'll listen to the engine and exhaust and move on with the video. So here we go with the start. Just turning on another microphone separate from the one on my collar so that we can get a better listen to the sound of the car as it starts. So always a little bit nerve-wracking when I'm starting a car that's a bit unknown to me, and the owner's standing right on the other side of the camera. So I think we can attribute my hesitating start to that. So yeah, on my second try, no problem at all starting it. We did just take the car for a little ride, so that was not a legitimate cold start. Um, so two things out of that. You can see the driving videos on our detailed listing, lot 316. And when we started the driving videos, we did do a cold start. So you can check out our cold start there for when we started it up and began our driving videos. So that's about it from this vantage point. I'm going to jump out of the car. We'll take a look under hood at the exhaust as the engine's running with a different camera angle and keep on going. So a different vantage point on the 1962 Ford Thunderbird hardtop coupe, also known as the Bullet Bird, with the hood open. Let's go in and take a closer look at the 390 cubic inch V8, rated at 300 horsepower. Do have a separate microphone. You'll see me reach in with it to get a better sound of the car than the microphone on my collar will do. So onto the other microphone. So I'll shut off that secondary microphone now and provide a little bit of commentary on this 390 inch cubic inch V8. You can see it's got the 4-barrel carb and rated for premium fuel only. Big air cleaner there, as you see, and some neat decals from the original. Although the engine has been rebuilt recently, check our detailed listing for details on that. Here's one of my favorite items on these older Fords, the vinyl bag for the washer fluid. I see an interstate battery here. And here's some of the AC equipment. As I say, no belts on it right now, but The parts are there otherwise, should the new owner want to get that fired up. This is a once a month car for the current owner, and he's happy with the vent windows and 4 power windows. And there's hood insulation in place as well. It shows a bit of wear. Some of it's disappeared here, but otherwise in pretty nice condition, I'd say. And we'll wander around to the rear and get a listen to the exhaust. That pillarless coupe look. And I'll pull out my second microphone again so that we can hear the dual exhaust. I think it's fair to say that exhaust makes the V8 sound good and strong. I think we're done with what we need car running for. So I'm going to shut it down. You can see the ignition here is on the left side, just like a Porsche 911, which didn't come around until a couple of years after this car was built. So that'll do for the engine running portion of the video. I'm going to cut now and we'll move on to the exterior. All right, so here we go with a glamour look at the Bullet Bird, the 1962 Ford Thunderbird hardtop coupe. If you're looking very keenly, you'll notice that the original hubcaps are in place on the rear underneath those fender skirts, but it's an aftermarket hubcap up front. Couple of reasons for that. The car has been converted to disc brakes up front, and the original 14-inch wheels do not fit over the disc brake system. Again, the disc brakes are only on the front, so the 14s still fit in the rear, and the original sized hubcaps, at least, I'm not sure if the original rim or not, but certainly the original size 14 inchers are in place in the rear. So the car does come with the other 2 hubcaps like you see on the front, and it comes with the other pair of rims and tires for the rear. It also comes with the original 14s with caps for the front. So that's that. And you can see it's got a set of white wall looking tires, as the owner calls them. Those are falsies. Those are black wall tires with a white wall stripe. And that's why you don't see any black in between the rim and the white wall, what looks like a white wall. So enough talk about the rims and tires. Kind of a minor detail, but I did want to get it out in front and be open about it for everyone to see. So looking at the front of the car, the reason that the car has earned the nickname Bullet Bird, because of that bullet sort of streamlined shape tapered to the center of the front. You can see that egg crate grille looks pretty nice, and the chrome bumper. I don't see any pitting on the chrome bumper. The owner tells us that this car was restored late 90s. We've got more details about the restoration on the detailed listing. And I'll just also point out the intake on the hood, as well as that glorious Thunderbird emblem towards the base of the hood above the chrome strip, and the quad headlights, which are a trademark of these Bullet Birds. Another neat feature, I mentioned it in the opening, is the vent windows. And as I say, this car is factory equipped with air conditioning that's not running today. So even running without the AC, you get some good airflow in the cabin with those vent windows. Neat Thunderbird emblem here on the front of the front wheel here on the fender. And here's a good look at the 15-inch tire up front. It's a set of Firestones, all season tires. And I was mentioning the falsy white walls. You can kind of sense that they are the falsies. They also cover up most, if not all, of the tire data that I like to read out. I only see the tread wear rating, traction, and temperature. So I can't read off the specs of the tires, but the owner has told us that these Firestones have been installed within the past 3 years. Again, that wheel cover is not a stock unit because it's a 15-inch wheel and thus a 15-inch cover. Stock for this car was 14-inch. So cool chrome side mirror here, driver's side only. There's only one side mirror on the car, which was common in the day. You can see both outward flapping wipers up front here with the chrome arms. And I really like this little touch, I'd say door handle, but it's really only a latch release on that button. And this chrome molding here has an opening where one can fit one's hand when opening the door. So a neat period touch. So as I say, the hardtop coupe, the roof looks good, paint's good up there, and a neat T-bird emblem here on what I'll call the C pillar in the absence of a B pillar. Another feature that earned this car the Bullet Bird nickname are these tail lights. True to consistent sort of with Ford design at the time, they're round, but they also kind of look like jet propulsion exhausts. So that's another touch that earned it the Bullet Bird. So looking here at the um, rear wheel, again, we got a fender skirt in place. I do notice a crack here in the paint, so I wanted to show you that. But underneath, it's a BF Goodrich radial TA, and you can see even more clearly that these are the falsy white walls. Just an extra piece slid in on top of the tire. But you can see the original hubcap there. And as I say, it's a pair of BF Goodrich radial TAs measuring 14 inches on the rear. And a neat touch here. On other cars, I'd call these a Ventaport. I'm not sure if that's what Ford called these or not, but they are a nice touch. 3 of them on the rear quarters, both sides. And there's a good look at the rear of the car. A swoopy coupe with some fins, 1962, so the fin look was still going strong. Got a fuel cap right here, so a sliding, or sorry, a side opening chrome opening here for the fuel. Again, the chrome bumper here on the rear looks just as good as the one on the front. Big rear window. I'll note that there's no line, so I don't see a defrost, but I don't think this car is destined for any winter use anyway. Working our way around. I'm not seeing flaws in the paint. The paint looks quite good. And as I think of it, I walked by something I did want to show you. This car is a regular on the show circuit. Well, the cruise night circuit anyway. There are some details about the car, about the restoration, paint, the engine, and some of the options. We'll take a look at that swing away steering wheel when we get inside, and the Cruise-O-Matic transmission we just saw in action as we did the driving videos. Power steering and brakes as you'd expect, but the power seats and windows not as common in 1962. This car is so equipped. And that Sickens paint, despite being over 20 years old, it's been well kept these past 20 plus years because it is looking sharp. As I say, more details about that restoration on the detailed listing. Good look at the fender skirt over on this side. I don't see the same crack that I did on the driver's side. If you see a black mark here on the finish, we've got a little friend watching the video being shot today. And there's a good look at the beige interior. We're going to get to that in a minute. But overall, a nice presentation of this 1962 Ford Thunderbird hardtop coupe. You can see the matching Thunderbird emblem, 4 of the front wheel here on the passenger's front fender. And we've got an antenna here for the stock looking, at least, AM radio that's in the cabin. So that's it for the exterior. Let's take a look inside. So moving to the interior of the car, again, a tan or beige interior. Seat belts have been added for all four passengers, just two seats in the rear. And the tilt-away steering wheel, I'll try to get the owner to show us, do a little demo of that for us. So check our other videos. We'll endeavor to get that. You can see here that those are controls for 4 windows as well as the power lock. And then of course the vent windows just controlled manually. And then 3 round gauges. Over on the left, we've got fuel and temperature. In the center, we've got a speedometer maxing out at 120 kilometers, 120 miles an hour, and that 5-digit analog odometer showing under 11,000 miles. TMU suspected under 111,000 miles, and a clock which would you believe that clock is functioning? It reads the same as my handy dandy watch does today. So look at that. A couple of other controls, and we can see indicators, light indicators for lights, wipers, and the indicators themselves. Down below, power brakes, of course. You might have noticed the booster under the hood. Hood release, brake release down below, and on the floor is where you control the bright lights. And then towards the center, we've got that AM radio. I suspect original, if not certainly original looking. And that's that upper item in the center stack is the control for the AC. Again, not connected currently, but a factory AC car. And then down below it are the conventional HVAC controls. Kind of the wraparound look for the dash over on the passenger side. I also see some controls to open the vents. And then there's also an ashtray with lighter in place. So maybe you're not a smoker, but that 12-volt outlet is handy for modern times. Again, the seat belts have been added in modern times. And I've just opened the center console, removed a couple of personal items. You can see there's a little bit of storage in there. Some vinyl Thunderbird mats, matching set at for all four passengers. And there's a good look at the driver's door. Only the one power window control as you'd expect, and then the latch for the door. In the rear, all is power windows as well. So all 4 windows open as I demonstrated earlier in this hardtop coupe. And 2 distinct seating areas for the 2 rear passengers. I suppose in a pinch, someone could sit on that center hump, but only 2 seat belts in the rear. Not equipped for seatbelt use, certainly. But out of the factory, no rear seat belts. Check with your local authorities as to whether or not a seat belt must be used by a center passenger. There might be a grandfather clause in effect. A couple of courtesy lights above the glass, and then a neat Thunderbird emblem as well. So that'll do it for our interior tour of the 62 Ford Thunderbird hardtop coupe. So that'll do it for our look at the 1962 Ford Thunderbird hardtop coupe. It is a beauty. The white paint in really wonderful condition, save for that one mark I saw on the fender skirt on the driver's side. Again, it's lot 316, a 1962 Ford Thunderbird hardtop coupe, white over beige with the 390 cubic inch V8 engine. And this one is ready to go. So that's going to about do it for this video. I want to thank you for watching, and we're going to move on to the next car. Hi, everyone, and welcome to another great car here on the Car Reviews podcast with CollectorCarCanada.ca. Today we have an interesting one. On the heels of the cool 72 Datsun 240Z that set a new corporate record for overtime bids, that auction went 24 minutes beyond its scheduled end because of our anti-sniping system, whereby Any bid in the last minute and a half of the clock countdown adds a minute and a half to the clock. So same era of Datsun, but very different car. This one is a 1971 Datsun 1600 SS. And I know there are some people watching right now who are thinking, that's a 510. That's a Datsun 510. Same body, definitely the same body. But this one is a European market car. So 1600 SSS. As you might have guessed, that 1600s for the cc's of the engine. And the engine in Europe, this is a Portuguese market model. The engine in Europe got juiced up with a little more horsepower. The 510s in 1971 were about 90 horsepower here in North America, but this car was outfitted with this 1600 engine. Carburation specs are on the detailed listing, lot 304, but resulting in 110 horsepower. So quite a bit more juiced up than the North American market car. 20 extra horsepower on 90. I think that's 22.22%. So that's quite a bit of a boost from the North American spec car. So as I say, Portuguese market car. I'm just looking down to get my second microphone ready for when we start it up. But Portuguese market car, and you can see that it's got some rally looks. I'll get to up close to a lot of it when we do the exterior walk around. But you can see the car is riding on bigger wheels and tires with a bit of a lift, giving some more clearance. So it gives it a real rally look. I'm not sure if this car is destined for off-road rallies under its next ownership, but the look you can't argue is cool. Certainly unique. So again, it's a 1971 Datsun by Nissan 1600 SSS. It's got a 4-speed manual. The odometer, for what it's worth, reads under 30,000 kilometers, but this is a true mileage unknown car, as you might expect. I think it's time to give it a start. We'll start it up and move on to listening to the engine at idle, as well as the exhaust at idle, and we'll continue on with the tour of the car. So I'll turn on my second microphone now, Mr. Editor, and it's running. So I'm going to set the handbrake, put her into neutral, and a car of this age, you don't need the clutch down with it being in neutral to start it. So here we go. So that was a reasonably warm start. The car's been run for probably 10 or 15 minutes today. Before we got to where we're sitting right now, we did some driving videos with the owner, so you can see the engine under load in those. We did do a legitimate cold start on his driveway. Mea culpa, I think I might have had a slippery finger when he actually started it. So I haven't looked back to look at that yet, but it was a cold start, certainly. All right, so that's enough of an intro. I think what I'll do now is pop the hood here, and we'll get moving to listening to the engine at idle and the exhaust. A look at the 1600 SSS while it's idling. I'm going to try putting the hood up with only one hand. Of course, I've got one hand holding the camera, but there's an ingenious little prop rod here. So we released it from in the cabin, little release here as well. And I'll try to get this ingenious release on the camera. And that slips into place like so, and the hood is up. So I'll get our second microphone ready to get a look at this overhead cam 1.6 liter Datsun engine. So a tidy package, and also with a bit of space for wandering hands and elbows if work's ever being done to it. So back to the rear, single exhaust over here on the driver's side. Let's get a listen at various lengths away. So I'd say it's fair to say for a 4-cylinder car that has a bit of a throaty sounding exhaust. One more listen to the sound of the engine at idle. I'll pop off my microphone to give you a listen. And there we go. I think that'll do it for the engine on portion of the video. So I'm going to cut the engine. We'll start talking about the exterior. All right, so moving on to the exterior. Somehow the video portion of the exterior we shot on site got eaten up into cyberspace. So we've put something together here for you here, just the same. So this shot is a good one of the cocoa brown exterior with recent paint in the 2010s. Look on the detailed listing for lot 304 for exact date on that. And then let's take a look at the profile of the car. You can start to see in the shaded areas of the car how that cocoa brown has quite a different appearance without the sun shining directly on it. On the detailed listing, we've got photos both with it shining directly and in the shade. So here's that last quarter look at it. Again, partly sunny, partly shaded. And I wanted to show you all of the wheels and tires. So there's a set of Fedima knobby F4 premiums, sized at all four corners at 175/70 R13. Aftermarket rims in the 13-inch size. And when we get to the trunk, you're going to see the original rims are in the trunk, and they're going to remain in the trunk for when the new owner picks it up, included with the deal. But let's take a look at all three. So this is driver's front. I want to all three others rather. I want to show you all four just so you see the rims are in really nice condition. So this one is driver's rear. Again, no marks on the rims. You can see a drum brake underneath the wheel here. So front discs and rear drums. So this is passenger's rear. Again, those black rims unmarked, and the Fedima is showing like they've got lots of life left in them. And then passenger front with a disc brake underneath, which I didn't mention for the first front wheel we saw. And it's probably worth noting that on the rear there are mud guards in place, but no mud guards up front. And walking around the car, here's a good look at the cocoa brown paint. The engine's running here, the lights are on, just the low beams. But a good look at the paint in the direct sunlight. So this video was shot in what photographers call the golden hour, just in the last couple of hours of sunlight for the day, where the sun is shining sort of on the side of the object rather than over top. It's good for shadows because the shadows are effectively behind your subject on photography, so they're invisible. And then we'll do another moving picture here. We'll cruise right in on the lights here. So the headlight, the SSS badge, and then of course the parking lights are on down below as well. And let's walk around it here in the shade where that cocoa brown refinish, of course it's refinished in the original color of cocoa brown. It almost looks black. So yeah, at night you're not going to see the brown quite as well. And you can see that sun in the background there starting to duck below the hill we shot this video beside. But yeah, a few of the differences between the 1600 SSS and the 510 are in evidence here, including the badge here on the fender and that parking light as well. And there's the SSS badge up front as well. There's further SSS badge on both the C-pillars and on the trunk lid as well. And we're going to focus in on these SSS badges. So here on the grille and the 1600, like we just saw with that accessory light on the front fender. No accessory lights on the rear quarters. And then 1600 SSS on the trunk lid. Another neat thing about this car, it shows off its Portuguese heritage or provenance with some nods to the Portuguese roots of it. This one, of course, is the US importer that brought the car in around 2015. We've got that exact year on the detailed listing. Again, lot 304. And then on the windshield, there are several decals setting out Portuguese heritage. So these would have been adhered to the car in Portugal. And it's kind of fun to still have them on. Now, we do have several driving videos on the detailed listing. I recommend you take a look at those. We're having a little fun with this one showing the car driving. But to get the full sound and hearing the engine under load, I recommend you go take a look at the detailed listing to see those videos. And a neat item about this car, I should have mentioned it right from the start of the exterior tour, but this car pays homage to the East Africa Safari Endurance Rally of the early 70s, where Datsuns did really well. So you can see on that front bumper here. Actually, I want to focus below the front bumper. You can see there's a skid plate, factory style skid plate there. So paying homage again to the East Africa Safari series, Safari Rally of the 70s. And then getting closer to that bumper, you can see the toe loop there. Don't know that this one's ever been used, but it is a neat bit of homage to that East African Safari Rally. In fact, Datsun went back to back with the 1600 SS and then the 240Z. So interestingly, this owner sold a Datsun 240Z with us a few weeks back. It was a 1972, so it would have been built in 1971, and the 240Z won the East African Safari Rally in 71. This 1971 model year car was likely built in 1970, and wouldn't you know it, that 1600 SSS won the East African Safari Rally in 1970. So a lot of fun history with this car. But here we see sort of the lower protection to protect that muffler down below the bumper. You can also see the rear bumper steps in place above the bumper, and as well there are toe loops installed right into the bumper. Another item that's in the trunk, and you'll see it when we tour you around the trunk. Here's the same stuff, just on the other side. The steps, the loop, the toe loop, and the protection down below. But in the trunk, there's a set of custom fabricated mesh headlight guards. You'll see those when we get to into the trunk for that portion of the video. And then another a tell that this is a Portuguese market car as opposed to a North American market car, where the 510s in North America had white for reverse, of course, but the rest of the lens was red only. The European cars, well, at least the Portuguese market ones did, had the white for reverse, as you'd expect, red for brake light, and amber for the indicators. So the amber touch on that tail light is a tell that this car came from Europe. A few flaws I wanted to show you. Right on the seams of the rear bumper, some of the chrome is split off. So as you'd expect, without the chrome protecting the metal, a little bit of surface rust has developed. Pretty easy fix. I'm not going to say it's a weekend job for a half an hour for any handyman, but it sure beats getting an entire bumper re-chromed. And then here on this is behind the driver's side rear wheel. There's a bit of paint upset to the left of the business card. You might see a couple of arcs to the top right of the business card. That's actually just dust. The car had been sitting in the owner's garage for about a week before we got there, and I didn't do a very good job of brushing the dust off before we took this close up. So what we're showing here is the paint upset in the top left corner of the card. So that's going to about do it for our exterior tour of this 1971 Datsun 1600 SS 4-speed manual. And we'll move on now to the interior. I think it's fair to say back to basics for the cabin, but a couple of really neat period touches are the wood-rimmed steering wheel, 3-spoke steering wheel with the SSS, in the center hub, and then also a wooden shift knob to navigate the 4-speed manual. Over here on the left, we've got washers and wipers, as well as headlights, and a set of, I don't think they're authentic cocoa mats. They kind of look like cocoa mats. There is an emblem on them. We'll make sure to get that on the detailed listing. But instrumentation here, metric instrumentation, as you might expect for a Portuguese market car. 180 max on kilometers an hour on the speedometer. Over on the left, there's a tachometer with an 8,000 RPM max reading, redlining at 7,000. In the center, a water temperature gauge and a fuel gauge. In the center, we've got ventilation and heat controls, defrost controls, as well as an original looking radio. I'm not sure if it's original or not, certainly period correct. I do see the brand name as Clarion, so certainly still well known in the automotive electronics world. Neat Datsun emblem here on the glove box. And then a little bit of storage down there in the center console. You might expect to see a handbrake here, but you won't. The handbrake is set here. And then to the left of it, that handle is the choke control, indicating, of course, a carbureted car. Crank windows, as you might expect. The black vinyl door cards match the black vinyl seats. There are a few cracks here and there on the seats. I'll try and show those to you. Another one in the seams there, a couple in the seams there, then another cut here in the driver's seat. I'll take a look at the rear passenger compartment, the rear bench, which it's probably worth mentioning explicitly, 4-door car, but I don't see any of the cracking on the rear seat, the rear bench here. Yeah, it's a matching set of mats here in the rear though, and you might think those are discarded candy wrappers. They're actually to discourage mice and other rodents from getting into the car while it's stored. So a good thing to see, not a bad thing like candy wrappers. So that's a pretty good look at the interior. As I say, back to basics, a bit Spartan, but certainly period correct. And we'll take a quick look at the trunk. The great thing to see there are the original wheels. I misspoke earlier. They are 13-inch, but they're 6 inches wide. So I think a 6-inch wide rim would more accommodate a 155 series tire rather than the 175s that are on the car now. Neat thing, original Portuguese license plate. That'd be the front. That'd be the rear. They go with the car. And there's a piece of interior trim here and some metal grates here for the exterior of the car. I'm not quite sure where those go, to be honest with you. But nice clean trunk lid base as well. There's a good look at the functional trunk of this 1971 Datsun 1600 SSS 4-speed manual from the Portuguese market. So that's our look at the 1971 Datsun 1600 SSS 4-speed manual Portuguese market car. So it's lot 304 on collectorcarcanada.ca. Take a look at that detailed listing and find out lots more information about the car generally, but also about the specs, like to modify it and give it the lift you see with the aftermarket rims. Of course, the original rims are in the trunk as we showed you, and they'll go with the car. But yeah, cocoa brown over a black vinyl interior, 4-speed manual, wooden shift knob, wooden steering wheel, 3-spoker, and it's ready to go. It looks pretty good to me. Again, this one is lot 304, the 1971 Datsun 1600 SSS 4-speed manual from the Portuguese market. Imported to the United States around 2015, if I recall correctly. But take a look at that detailed listing, lot 304, for the details on it. That's going to about do it for this one. So I want to thank you for watching, and we're going to move on to the next car.